The World Cup kicks off on June 11th with the United States, Canada and Mexico jointly hosting the tournament. And for the first time, 10 African teams will be competing to become the global football champions. No African nation has ever won the FIFA World Cup, but can they bring the winner's trophy to the continent for the first time? Sixteen more teams have been added to this year's lineup for the first time, meaning 48 football teams will be competing for the title. And 10 African countries secured their World Cup spots after winning the continental and international playoffs. South Africa will face co-host Mexico in the opening match in what's been dubbed as a reverse of the 2010 World Cup opener, which ended in a 1-1 draw. And football fans can't wait to support their national team, known as Bafana Bafana, or the boys.
I trust my boys to win everything. This is our year, 2026 World Cup.
So, which African teams have made the cut? First up, according to FIFA World Rankings, are the Moroccan Atlas Lions, the first team to qualify for the Men's World Cup. The team reached the semi-finals in 2022, which was historic, and will be competing for their 7th time. The Senegalese Lions of Teranga will roar once again on the global football stage. After being stripped of the African Cup of Nations title last year, the team has qualified for the World Cup 4 times, but perhaps the most memorable is its debut in 2002, where it made it to the quarterfinals after beating France. The Desert Warriors of Algeria are also on the prestigious list. They're back in the tournament after 12 years in the cold. Their first match will be against the 2022 World Cup champions. That's Argentina.
They will pose some danger, but we will try to stop them, because we have an international level, so we will not be afraid of them. Everything will be decided on the pitch. They have their own tactics, and we have ours.
The Egyptian Pharaohs are back after missing the 2022 World Cup. Captain Mohamed Salah has unfinished business after scoring twice at the 2018 World Cup, but losing all 3 group stage matches. While 3-time AFCON winners Ivory Coast Elephants will be charging at the title for a 4th time. They waited until the final day of the qualifiers to confirm their return to the World Cup. Tunisia's Eagles of Carthage cruised through the qualifiers without conceding a single goal. They've made 6 appearances at previous World Cup tournaments, but have never advanced beyond the group stage. The Leopards of the Democratic Republic of the Congo secured a spot after an intercontinental playoff match, marking their first appearance since 1974. But some pre-World Cup training matches have been cancelled, and Congolese fans may miss cheering on their team in person due to Ebola-related travel restrictions.
En regardant la liste que Sébastien de Sabre.
Looking at the list that Sébastien de Sabre published a few weeks ago to complete in the World Cup, it inspires. These are the same players who had the ability to qualify the national team, and the trust reigns on the DRC side, even if it is the first time since 1974 that have competed in the World Cup. It won't be easy, but Coach de Sabre will write a new page in the history with the Congolese national team.
2010 World Cup host South Africa's Bafana Bafana will make a comeback after a 16-year hiatus. The squad's departure was delayed because of Mexico visa issues. We spoke to former South Africa international George Dinley about the challenge facing the team in North America.
We haven't got out of the group stages before, so that would be a huge achievement. But also don't underestimate how tough it is. Mexico, opening game in Mexico. They are fanatical supporters. They've got a good side. They'll have that whole country crazy for that opening game. So I think that's going to be a really tough ask. I think the best we could probably get is a draw, got to be honest. But then Czech Republic in Atlanta will be hot, will be tough, but it probably suits us versus a Eastern European team. And then the South Koreans, that game's played in Monterrey in Mexico. That's our last group game. So that's going to be tough. There's no doubt about that, but we live in hope.
And making their debut are the Cape Verde Blue Sharks. The small island nation with a population of just over 500,000 people made it through despite rarely competing in international football. And the Black Stars of Ghana are the 10th African team to qualify. They made an impressive performance at the 2010 World Cup, making it all the way to the quarterfinals. A football fan in Accra had this to say to the national team.
For every tackle, you have to go in for every tackle. For every ball, you have to win every ball. Because it's not just only you playing. You are playing with 33 million others. And so you are not just representing yourself, you are representing a system, you are representing a country. So you have to go there and show out for Ghana and then show up. So I expect the Black Stars to go far.
All right, let's bring in Fisayo Dairo. He's the chief football writer at ACL Sports, a Nigerian online sports news platform, and he joins us live from Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir, for making the time. I mean, what's your assessment of the teams representing the African continent at the World Cup, and just how do they compare with other teams?
Africa are having 10 slots at the World Cup for the first time ever. And I dare say that we have some of the best footballing countries in Africa in the mix. Yes, a country like Nigeria should be there, but it takes nothing away from the teams that are there. We have at least 7 of the best countries in terms of football in Africa. The reigning African champions, whether you want it Morocco or Senegal, they are there. And I'm so confident that Africa, we have a very good representation as compared to other countries coming from the other continents.
But you see, since the continent made its debut on the second edition of the tournament, that was in 1934, we have never really won this much coveted trophy. Why is that? And could this be the year that that happens?
Well, it could just be the year. Let me start from the latter question, the latter part. Yeah, because we could see that Africa is gradually getting closer. At the last tournament in Qatar, we had Morocco surprising the rest of the world and getting all the way to the semi-final. And this year's edition, being a 48-nation tournament, I think it has a lot of elements of surprise right there in it, because a lot of the groups are balanced, which will allow for teams to emerge from groups that might have been difficult. In years past, whenever Nigeria go to the World Cup, we always find ourselves in the group of death. But here, we can see countries like Morocco, like Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire having only one stronger team on paper in the group stage. So the fact that it's expanded means that there is equal opportunity for a lot more countries, and Africa especially, you'll be one of them. So to the initial question as to how that is, I think it's just because that the other continents, especially Europe and South America, they were ahead of Africa in terms of infrastructure, in terms of talent and nursing, and in terms of organization. But we've seen that in the last decade, for instance, Africa have bridged the gap. There are a lot of African countries, especially in Northern Africa, likes of Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, they have really, really come close in closing that gap of deficit in infrastructure. And even South Africa, that will be in the World Cup for the first time since they hosted in 2010, these are some of the countries that are doing what the other parts of the world were doing, that is making them to thrive in major competitions like this. So, like you said, this might just be the year Africa is waiting for, because getting to the semi-final 4 years ago, perhaps they can take it a notch higher this time around.
Crossing our fingers for that. I mean, most football fans describe previous World Cup performances as filled with near exits, or early exits rather. And I remember the 2010 the World Cup in South Africa, where they were actually kicked out at the opening match, near misses and unrealized potential. What's your prediction this time? Because again, in 2022, Morocco made it to the semi-finals.
Well, it's still very difficult to predict what the outcome will be, but my easy prediction will be that out of the 10 African countries, at least 3 will get to the next round. I think the World Cup properly starts from the round of 32 this particular time. After the group stage, I believe we will have at least 3, realistically 4 African countries in the round of 32. So it now depends on the strength of the opponents they are going to be facing. So from there, we can take it on. I may not be able to boldly predict if we will get to the semi-final. Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm tipping Morocco, I'm tipping Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and perhaps Egypt. Yeah. Ghana are formidable, but they are in a very difficult group. So they may not be able to escape from a group that have England and Croatia. But the Teranga Lions of Senegal, the Moroccan national team, the Cote d'Ivoire, the Elephants, and of course, Egypt, I think they should be able to progress from their groups.
Mm-hmm. You've talked about Ghana, and there's one person we spoke with on the show, of course, from Accra, just a fan. He's hopeful that Ghana will bring the cup home. But, wait and see. I hear you, sir. I mean, My next question would be just what needs to be done to ensure that we bring this cup home? We've talked about that. We've talked about the possibility of this being finally the year. But if it's not the year, I mean, what needs to be done to ensure that in the next 4 years, this cup comes home? We've talked about infrastructure. And we also have some of the best players in the world, I dare say. Ashraf Hakimi, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, these are players that are making it on the global scene. Why doesn't that translate when it comes to home, when it comes to the continent issues?
Yeah, what the rest of Africa needs to do is what Morocco and Senegal are doing. Now, like you've alluded to the fact that we have the talent reservoir, but we need to harness them. How do we harness them? Proper facilities, training facilities, good exposure of these talents. Morocco's template, to an extent, apart from the facilities they have been bringing back a lot of players born in Europe, born in Belgium, born in France, born in Spain. They've been bringing back to the national team, and it has helped them to form a formidable unit. But for a country like Senegal, they've also brought in a couple of talents from Europe. But because in West Africa, where we have Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, that is the home of talent in Africa. So what Senegal have done is they have made their cadet national team strong. Just 2 days ago, they have won the under Africa Cup of Nations. Senegal, they've had players that won the under 20 Africa Cup of Nations 2 years ago in the national team. So they are building from the scratch, and they are having facilities right there at home to nurture these lads. So that is what the rest of Africa must emulate. Have the facilities that can bring forth these young talents that we compete with the rest of the world at any level. I think that we are nearly there. Yeah, that's what I think.
Right, and as we wind up in less than a minute, we need to talk about the rise of homegrown tacticians and talking about teams that are headed by local coaches. We've seen that over the years, a rise in that. Will that, or has that in any way boosted African football? Or what role has that played?
Yeah, it has played a huge role. I was at the last Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, and all the 4 semi-finalists had African coaches. It was the first time that was happening in 60 years. That shows how far we've gone in African football. Nobody can understand the kind of football that your country wants like your countryman. That's my belief. And that's why no foreign coach has ever won the World Cup since its inception in 1930. We've had. So when you go to Europe to bring in coaches to coach your national teams in Africa, they might not work according to the strengths of the players that you have in that continent. They come with their own education, with their own experience, and with their own methodology from Europe to enforce it on the players that might not be tailored towards such. So having homegrown coaches, that we could see all the countries that I've mentioned that might likely get to the next stage, they are coached by local coaches. Senegal, Morocco, Egypt, and Cote d'Ivoire. So these guys, a lot of them have also played for the national teams in the past. They played to the level of the World Cup. So they know what the fans want, they know what the players can do, and this has really helped African football.
Fisayo Dairo, their chief football writer at ACL Sports. Thank you very much, sir, for making the time. To South Africa now, where tensions between locals and foreign nationals have been rising for weeks, anti-migrant protesters have been calling for tougher action against illegal migration, prompting the Ghanaian, Malawian and Mozambican governments to help repatriate their citizens living in the country who say they fear for their lives. Vicky Stark has more from Mossel Bay near Cape Town.
These foreign nationals in South Africa are being housed at this secret location after fleeing their homes on Friday when protesters burned 55 shacks to the ground. At least 2 Mozambicans were killed. The mob echoed March on March's claims that foreigners are stealing jobs, straining healthcare and education, and committing crimes.
The citizens are horrible. They are stoning, they are burning our houses, they have robbed us. We have lost everything now. Our government must do something. We have to go. As you can see here, this is a small hole and we are overcrowded. We are not bathing, others have kids. They need pampers, food.
Several South Africans here say they've also been victims of tribalism. This supports claims by the family of teenager Nklamulo Sambo, who say he was killed over the weekend because he was from another province and struggled to understand Xhosa.
Yesterday, when I come from work, and then my neighbor told me that I must go. So I did ask, where must I go? He said I must go to my country. And then I told him, I'm a South African, so which country must I go?
South Africa's top police officers, who held a media briefing in nearby George on Wednesday to discuss the violence, denied any knowledge of tribal conflicts. But they also stressed they are ready to deal with any threat posed by the organization March and March, whose call for all undocumented foreigners to leave the country by June 30th has sparked protests in several provinces.
We have mobilized the necessary operational, intelligence and investigative resources to ensure accountability. We will not tolerate any attempt to destabilize communities, threaten national stability, disrupt economic activity or challenge the authority of a democratic state.
When contacted, March and March leader Jacinta Ngobeze Zuma said she had no comment on the deaths of the Mozambicans. She also refused to say exactly what would happen to undocumented foreign nationals if they failed to leave by the end of the month. Vicky Stark, Africa Matters, Mossel Bay, South Africa.
To a remote village in central Malawi now, which has become the country's first community with universal solar power access. Solar Aid says its project powers nearly all 9,000 homes, benefiting about 32,000 people after decades of reliance on candles and kerosene. Lamek Masina traveled to the Kasakula village in Nchisi district and brings us this report.
Gone are the days when Isneri Filippo walked long distances charging her phone. Also gone are the days when she was using a battery-powered torch for lighting.
Sometimes I would sleep in darkness for a week when the batteries run out, but now I have light in my house.
Filippo is among residents now connected to solar power in Kasakula village. This is thanks to the Light a Village program run by the UK-based charity Solar Aid.
We do much with combating energy poverty as well as climate change, and you can see that our goal is to make sure that each and everyone in the rural communities have access to energy.
The program, which achieved its target in August, has connected all nearly 9,000 homes, making it Malawi's only village fully connected to solar power. The biggest change here is seen at night. Many business owners are now extending their working hours.
Now I can close my business as late as around 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. Sometimes I would work throughout the night. This has increased my profits.
But challenges remain. Some schools say bulbs which come with the system are still not enough for classrooms.
Those 3 bulbs are not enough. Had it been that there were 4 and 5, it would have been better. Because if we install those 3 bulbs to a class of several learners, that light is not enough for them to, it's not enough for those learners.
Malawi authorities welcome the initiative and hope it could expand to other rural areas where over 18 million Malawians live.
If resources permit, at least if they can scale up to all areas so that we can see the fruits together in the whole district.
In the meantime, Solar Aid is setting up repair centers to manage battery waste, addressing concerns over possible environmental risks from worn-out batteries. Lamek Masina, Africa Matters, Kasakula Village, Malawi.
To the Democratic Republic of the Congo next, where the health ministry says the number of confirmed Ebola cases in the country is more than 300 and the ongoing outbreak has killed dozens of people. The response has been slowed down by lack of resources. Rahul Radhakrishnan reports about a school near the epicenter that doesn't have running water.
The Ebola outbreak is spreading across eastern DRC, and international health officials are sounding the alarm. Experts are concerned over how long the virus has gone undetected. But on the ground, even adhering to basic hygiene is a struggle.
Generally, we teach while fearing infection by the disease, but we can't do anything because our state obliges us to continue teaching. With free primary education, we have a large number of pupils.
Teaching and encouraging school children to wash their hands frequently is one thing, but the logistics challenges they face make it harder.
My big difficulty at the school is that I don't have water faucets. I don't have a water point. Struggle with the running costs to fetch water. But it is not easy. There are many pupils, more than 800 pupils. It is not easy. I ask parents to also help me, to support me with water from home.
Ebola is spread through contact with bodily fluids of an infected person or contaminated objects like clothing or bedding. And severe diarrhea, vomiting, and bleeding are some of the symptoms.
A child remains a child, and they are vulnerable because they don't know how to follow the safety measures. When they come into contact with someone who is sick, they are vulnerable because they won't know how to protect themselves. If their parents are sick, they can transmit the disease at school because children won't really know how to separate easily from their parents.
It's officially been declared a global health emergency, and there is no vaccine for the outbreak of the Bundibugyo strain. 8 groups are feeling the strain of funding cuts to properly and efficiently respond to this crisis. But these Congolese school teachers are taking matters into their own hands. Rahul Radhakrishnan, Africa Matters.
Well, South Africa's iconic great white sharks have largely disappeared from one of their most famous habitats. Scientists believe a combination of killer whale attacks and human activity may be causing the sharp decline, impacting marine ecosystems and local tourism. Kubra Akot reports.
They were once the main attraction for tourists along South Africa's Cape coastline. But in Gansbaai, a fishing town in the Western Cape, seeing great white sharks has become very rare.
So we barely ever see white sharks around our boats anymore, maybe one a year if you're lucky.
Researchers say the decline began around 2015. 2 years later, several great white sharks were found dead after attacks linked to 2 killer whales known as port and starboard. But experts say killer whales are not the only problem. Fishing, accidental catches in nets, and pressure on the sharks' food sources may also be playing a role.
So all of that is at play, working together, and it creates sort of like a perfect ecological storm that is causing our white sharks to disappear.
Scientists say sharks are important as the ocean's top predator to keep the ecosystem healthy and balanced. Without them, the effects can spread through the entire food chain.
So when we have an imbalance within these oceanic systems, everything beneath it is threatened.
The disappearance of great white sharks has also changed the tourism industry, and bronze whalers have become the main attraction. Some businesses say visitor numbers are no longer what they used to be.
We still have people that are coming around, but it's not the same anymore.
Researchers are still debating why the great whites left, and most importantly, why they haven't returned. Kubra Akot, Africa Matters.
And finally, in Uganda, a viral youth dance group is preparing for the biggest performance of its life. The Ghetto Kids have been handpicked by pop icon Shakira to perform at the FIFA World Cup final halftime show this July. Hope Kirubi tells us more.
At the Kampala Dance Studio, the countdown to a historic performance is underway. While preparing to share the World Cup halftime stage with pop icon Shakira, the group is practicing its signature high-energy moves.
We never imagined that we would wake up one time and perform with one of the biggest global artists like Shakira, or perform at the halftime show in USA. We never imagined this, so this is a dream come true.
The dancers, many of them orphans and vulnerable children, have built a global following through their passion for dance, following a journey that first began with a viral video over a decade ago.
We rose to fame when we featured in the song called City Allos by Ugandan artist called Eddie Kenzo. So we and my other group members We featured in the video and then it went viral. Then we started performing here in Uganda and outside Uganda.
Now, they are bigger than ever, featuring prominently in Shakira's official World Cup anthem, Die, Die.
I am so excited to share the stage with one of the most popular and respected artists all over the world, called Shakira. Though I am nervous, but I will be happy to perform with her.
But beyond their choreography, the Ghetto Kids say they also want to showcase a different image of Africa.
Africa is not only about bad things only. Africa is a continent of happiness, you understand? So every time we dance, we are putting in a lot of energy, big smiles. It is not that it is scripted or when you reach here, smile, it is natural.
As the Ghetto Kids step onto the FIFA World Cup halftime stage this July, the group is proving how talent and hard work can transform lives and inspire far beyond Uganda's borders. Hope Kirubi, Africa Matters.
That's our show this week. Let us know if you think the African teams will bring the World Cup trophy to the continent for the first time, or comment on any other stories you've seen on our Africa Matters YouTube page or on X. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me, Grace Kuria Kanja.